Hello and welcome to Sarcastic Videos. Today we're going to be talking about Wonder Woman, the 2017 release, starring Gal Gadot and Chris Pine. This movie is actually pretty good. It's in theaters still, and it's a really good adaptation from what I've seen of comics and also the DC cartoons or animated shows based on Wonder Woman. This is a really good representation of what she is, who she is. They show a lot of, in the beginning, she's naive. You know, which of course she would be because she's just raised on this island of Amazon women. So she's naive about what's going on in the real world. And when Chris Pine shows up, his Steve Trevor character, and introduces her to the real world, like the first thing she sees is war, because the Germans follow him to the island and attack. And then there's a really cool fight scene where right away they get into the action where they're defending their island, and then Wonder Woman follows Diana follows Steve Trevor into the real world so she can help stop the war, because she thinks that it's being created by Ares, and the Amazons have been raised to destroy Ares. They give that in some exposition in the beginning. So as soon as she hears about war, and in her opinion, she knows that it's Ares, she wants to join the fight. But it seems a little naive that she jumps to that conclusion right away, that there's Ares involved. But of course, she doesn't know about man and their ability to commit these bad acts on each other. So I guess that naivete does make some sense. In the beginning, there's some really good action with her training, mostly with Robin Wright's character, who's her aunt, who does a really good job. She doesn't have a lot of lines, but Robin Wright does a great job as the aunt there. And Connie Nielsen does a great job as her mom. That's some good acting in the beginning there. Themyscira, the island they're on, is very nice, bright, colorful. And I think that was mostly to show the difference between, that world and the real world, which they show later on is more dark and drab, especially London, which is all smokestacks and factories. But the idea was that when she gets to the real world, Steve Trevor would show her the main fighting so she could fight Ares, and then they start liking each other and getting to know one another. They fight together. I kind of agree with some people who say that it would have been nice if they'd just been comrades, fighting against this evil instead of turning into like a love interest thing. But it was still done really well. Chris Pine is great, reacting to all this stuff that he's just having thrown on him, like, the whole thing about being created by Zeus out of clay, when Diana describes that as her birth, and he's just like, oh, okay, great. Like, there is some funny moments with him. Like, he's really good in this. One of the villains, the Danny Houston character, Ludendorff, is a German general who, he's very vicious, and they think he's Ares because of his viciousness. But it's really good the way that they show how bad humanity can be, and the impact it has on Wonder Woman. Like, coming out of Themyscira, thinking like only Ares can make people bad, but Chris Pine has to explain that no, people are bad on their own. They don't exactly need the god of war to push them in that direction. So that was a good story. There's a few negatives. I mean, while they're going to the front, they are joined by 3 other people to make like this entourage kind of thing, almost like a little bit like Saving Private Ryan with a little group of people. But they kind of use those people to show Diana what humanity's like. They're different races, different cultures, different ways of dealing with the war, and Diana observes them as they get to know each other. And part of it is they're showing how your first impressions aren't always true. You know, like these guys, they come off a certain way when you first meet them, but then as you get to know them, they show themselves as something different, and that's something that I think is part of Wonder Woman's growing and getting to know herself. And in the beginning, in the beginning she's a little girl, but when she's still on Themyscira, she's still learning. She's still becoming more powerful. So it isn't until at the end when she fights Ares in the final battle that she becomes like the most powerful version of herself, and you see all of her powers, which are pretty cool the way they did it. The fight was good. The CG, there's lots of different fights, but you know, there's like things where she's taking on in the trailer they show her taking on No Man's Land, and there's a scene where she takes on like Sniper Tower, and you know, there's a lot of great scenes, great fight scenes. Gal Gadot does great, and even when she's not fighting, she's great as this, you know, naive Wonder Woman learning and growing as she learns about war and what humanity can do. So it's really good. There are some parts like those three characters I was talking about. They're not fleshed out completely. You don't really know much about them at all by the end of the movie. There's some other characters that just kind of pop in and pop out, like the secretary character, Lucy Davis. Like you see her a tiny bit, even though they show her a lot in the trailers. And the one thing that was the CGI, and I think this is just a symptom of, you know, the studio not having a lot of trust in the movie in the first place. You know, that's why it took so long for a Wonder Woman movie to be created at all. Is because you know, studios didn't think people would go, and happily they were wrong. But so hopefully next time they get a better CG budget, because this one it wasn't terrible, but it definitely could have been better. Like there are times when you see a lot of rubbery skin, and they do whole fight scenes where it's just CGI, and you can tell immediately when it goes to CGI. So as long as, you know, maybe it's being picky, but as long as I can tell, then it's not done good. Like, you know, and it's not like I had to look for it. It was blatantly obvious. So that kind of takes away from it a little bit. The main villain could have been a bit better. You know, like it wasn't like a big doomsday fight like in Batman versus Superman. This was, you know, it was good, but it could have been better for sure. But other than that, like, it is a good movie, and it's definitely something worth watching and something worth buying on Blu-ray when it comes out. Out of the DC movies, I would say it's the best. It's better than Man of Steel. It's better than Batman vs. Superman. We'll have to see when Justice League comes out. But it's a really good movie, and it's definitely worth a watch and a buy. So I'm going to rate this an 8 out of 10. So that is the Wonder Woman 2017, starring Gal Gadot and Chris Pine, directed by Patty Jenkins. If you like this video, like, share, subscribe, or all the above. Thank you, and have a nice day.